Okay, sorry about that. This is my third time recording this section of the chapter. I just seem to be talking way too much, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more concise on this so I can get it done in one shot. We'll go over what the homework is at the end of the chapter, but so this next slide here, the last one we just talked about where you need to focus your energy if you're doing market research. You concentrate on where the importance is for people, right? Where your number of your markers are. You have some people this is more important, live bands and bars, but most people it's, they want the information on ski slopes if you're going to a ski hill. Makes sense. But sometimes hard to do. Sometimes it is hard to remember to focus on what's important. So measuring service quality. So this is a research technique. It's a popular research instrument on customer satisfaction in the service industry. It was developed in 1985, and its exploratory research showed that customers judge service quality by using the same general criteria regardless of the type of service. So it really didn't matter what kind of service they were getting, they were still the same qualities that they were judging it. So it was easy to have a look at what we did in chapter 5 at the assurance and empathy and reliability, responsiveness, and the tangible things that customers see. So looking at all those things is what we look at when we're looking at doing research. So in this one, it's particularly interesting. It's a holiday experience and kind of the various stages that people go through in tracking the service quality and their expectation versus performance. So, transfer to accommodation. The expectation was a little higher than what the actual performance was of the company. Resort activities is number 9. The expectation was even higher for resort activities. But when we look at the, skiing, snowboarding at the facility, it did meet the expectation. So that's fantastic when that's the bulk of their product. But there's a lot of different areas here where they can improve on meeting customers' expectations. So those are these red dots that are the current performance. That's where we want to get them up to the expectation. We want to close that gap number 5. So we've got to close all these here in order to get to that, measured service quality where we're not having a gap in it, and then we're improving, the lifetime value of your client. This is a great survey that they do in the restaurant industry. It's a DynaServe interview. Probably getting harder and harder to conduct these kinds of long surveys in this day and age. With the way everything is changing to online and people's attention span, I'm sure the number of questions that they can ask now is significantly reduced. So another way to measure service quality is comment cards or mystery shopping. Comment cards, we probably all remember them being in the hotel rooms for decades and never filling them out, and now they're focusing on doing it in different methods. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's a performance-based measure and a diagnostic tool to ensure that what you're offering is what customers want. And it's great because it gives you that real-time instant feedback. Might even be more effective than other types of surveys where they're kind of filled in later on. There's also mystery shopping. So it's a participant observation. It's common research technique. Lots in the US. I'm not sure as much in Canada, but it's very popular in analyzing your service quality for different companies. So they talk about that a bit in this chapter, and we talked about it a bit in the last chapter as well. So some of the advantages and disadvantages of mystery shopping, it offers, excuse me, talking too much or recording these videos a few times. It offers insight into feelings, motivations behind the service and practice. Experience is natural, and it doesn't. It's not fake for the observer. So oftentimes the store doesn't know that somebody is coming in, so it hasn't created this false sense of experience. Actually, I have an example of a friend of mine who is employed locally in a big company, and they were doing a mock exercise where they called in a positive COVID test. So, they faked that an employee had COVID. They needed to make sure that the whole, couple hundred employees, all the information was going to get spread to the right areas of the company in order to ensure that the proper protocols are being followed. And it just went sideways rapidly, where the first person received the call and immediately called their family and another person's family, and rather than following the corporate or company procedures of calling the nursing station and this and that, and making sure the information gets passed through the company properly, happens, they just completely lost all sense of protocol. So kind of interesting when you do these fake scenarios within companies, how things can go sideways so quick. So a little bit of a similar example, but I thought that was kind of funny how it happened yesterday at a company in town. So no COVID there, but it went fast and sideways quickly. So anyways, serves as a management tool for improving standards in customer service by providing actionable recommendations. So, I mean, it is a great tool when you can get good information from it. It's ideal for investigating services, great for human resource management as a tool as well. There are some disadvantages to mystery shopping. There's been some studies done where there's some ethical issues. You might have somebody who really thinks it's wrong that a company would do that to them. There's, some assumptions that may be made by the different shoppers, or the whole thing could be based on different assumptions, as well as some of the information may be biased. So anyways, good to use as a tool in a whole toolbox, not as the only way you evaluate your company. So try to get this wrapped up here. Checking out the competition was one of the last snapshots in the chapter, I think, before the last case study. Mystery shopping, it gathers information on other rivals. You can do it with mystery shopping. You can stay current and competitively priced by mystery shopping online or in a store. It can improve customer service and guest communication by doing the mystery shopping. You're never too old to learn new things from anybody. So there's different ways to do it. There's also a website and publications. You can stay ahead of trends. And so there's an example in that snapshot of a hotel manager in South Carolina that would be able to stay on trend by looking at different publications, magazines, the internet, and other social media things for new ideas with the company. So rather than just going in and checking out other hotels, there's other ways to stay ahead of the competition as well. So critical incident studies, that's another method for research. It is a qualitative interview procedure, and it accounts the customer's evaluation of services, the service failures and recovery. So it's usually in their own words, and then the employee and customer participation in the service delivery, as well as service experience. So it accounts all of that very quickly. The collection, or the benefit of it, is it's in the customer's perspective and it's their true thoughts. So it's usually not as flawed by the type of questions that people ask, because it's right in their own words. It's useful when there's very little information of a company. So when you don't have a lot of questions to ask, it's just an easy way to ascertain some information. So lost customer research, there's few organizations have found strategies for evaluating customer attrition. So it's a difficult thing to do, is to find that lost customer and how to figure out how to get them back, or where the failure point was, where the common problems is, why customers are dropping off. But it's hugely beneficial to companies. Hopefully you've read it in other courses, is that it's exponentially less money to keep a customer and have them come back again than it is to gain a new customer. So we always have to keep those existing customers. It's so much cheaper for a company and more beneficial. The last little bit on this slide talks about one study where the root cause driving down customer loyalty and customer satisfaction is wait time. I think that's something we see in a lot of different areas of the tourism industry is wait time. Whether you're talking checking in at a hotel, or in a restaurant when you're waiting for food, or a airline when you're trying to get your flight, It's interesting that, that is such a high percentage of a reason for losing a customer. That's 68%. Good to know. All right. Last way to do some research is online research. So electronic and online surveys is very popular, gaining huge popularity. I seem to get them every day of the week from different things that I do. I'm very adamant in filling them in. My husband's always saying, why are you bothering with that? But I know the benefit to a company, so I quite often do them. You can do them with computers in high traffic locations. Customers can be asked to complete online surveys at checkout or can be emailed that. The nice thing is that you get the information instantly. It can be accessed by frontline people or corporate, however companies want to set it up. There's also virtual focus groups, online chat sessions, virtual worlds that have been created, as well as social media is a great way to do online research and some crowdsourcing as well. Trying to zip through this last little bit. So common research errors. Not enough qualitative information, improper use of sophisticated statistical analysis, failure to have a representative sample, and problems with interpretation. It's always good to know what the errors are, but I think we want to focus on what types of research that we can do to analyze our business, to improve the customer satisfaction levels. So the effective use of market research, the research plays a critical role in development of a company or an industry. It helps some practical decision making at a strategic level. There's an academic understanding of industry development and feasibility studies for new projects. So the research should play a critical role in improving a company, or if you're coming out with a new product, there needs to be some research done around it. There's a lot of different research techniques we just went over. Successful research is contingent on 3 conditions. Sufficient resources allocated to research. So we need to have the funds and the manpower in order to execute the research, to do the surveys, and then to be able to get the surveys back, and then be able to implement the recommendations from the survey. So it does take resources. You got to believe the research. If your customers are saying something and you don't think it's the way it is, well, it doesn't matter if that's not what you think. It's what your customers are telling you. So you also need to implement the research. So Courtyard by Marriott, probably my favorite hotel. I stay in them all over when I travel, almost all the Marriott hotels anyway. And they talk about it in the last page 132 about their research that they did when they came out with their new brand. They sampled over 600 consumers with a new different technique called conjoined analysis, where they make trade-offs between groupings of attributes. So if we charge this price and it comes with this, or if we charge this price and it comes with this, which one would you do? Kind of an interesting study. So I'm just going to skip this case study today because I talked a little bit about it earlier, but let's go into the homework. You have 1 question for homework this week, but it is going to take a little bit of mental work. There's no easy answer in the textbook. So I want you to pretend you're a hotel manager for a medium-sized hotel, and your customers aren't happy. What would you do if you were asked to improve the satisfaction rates at your hotel? Okay, you need to consider everything that we discussed in the chapter. Going right to the beginning of the chapter where we talk about that big graph on page 113, applied research in tourism and hospitality sector. You're looking at the different types of research. What would you do? I want about 2 to 3 paragraphs. It needs to be very concise. I don't want a big run-on thing. You need to tell me what you would do as a manager to improve on customer satisfaction rates. How are you going to figure out what they want from your hotel? Are you going to do a survey? Are you going to do some mystery shopping? Are you going to do, lost customer research? Talk to past customers and see why they didn't come back. Look at the different types of research things we just talked about, comments, cards, that kind of thing, the different service programs, and give me maybe 1 or 2 things you're going to do, because you can't just do one way of doing research. You usually have to do a few things. This is going to help close the gap between what your customers' expectations are and their perceptions. Gap number 5. All right, have a great week, guys.